How's it going, everybody? So we're finally diving into the testing grounds. Highlander, Peacekeeper and Magi are the three characters that are getting changes. Highlander will require like half an hour a video or so. He's quite something. But the other two we can do a little quicker. Peacekeeper is the topic today. Overall, I think the perception of the hero among the community is a very inconsistent one. For years people claimed she had low damage, when she really didn't. Nowadays many claim she has no offense, when in reality her 1v1 ability is quite decent. She's not broken by any means, but her dagger cancel is no joke, and once you're bleeding, her pressure is amazing. She's definitely usable on all skill levels. But just like the devs identified, she's underperforming in Dominion. Now the question we need to answer is, did the changes from these testing grounds actually address the weaknesses she has? With that said, let's take a look at that bash. She now has a forward dodge bash with a placeholder animation. To be perfectly honest, the animation is fine. We've had way worse. Input is from 100 to 500 ms into the dodge, and the bash itself is 766 ms. It's not feintable. So the input window is very generous, the bash itself is slow, and the fact that it is not feintable or has any other property is what is the head scratcher. If you land it, you get a deep gouge. So it's another way to apply bleed to your opponent. I don't think I need to explain why this move is quite bad or in a onesie scenario. But the devs also clearly stated they wanted it to be used in ganks. So let's talk about PK's ganking then. For one, she has had a gank since basically forever. It's not an insane one, but you could always guard break for her forward dodge heavy. If she delayed the bleed stab correctly, she would then confirm another teammate's heavy, and then the usual second heavy confirm. Now the problem she does have in ganks is that she has a hard time adding damage herself. Her damage on heavies is only compatible with other heroes if she's allowed to apply bleed as well. But this means she has to use 2 attacks, and thus applying 2 hits, which moves the hitstun counter up, obviously. These confirmed attacks often help to facilitate ganks, like when Orochi had the confirmed light after Storm Rush. That allowed for some stupid ganks, and in PK's case, it allows her something similar as we've discussed before, but her heavies just aren't good enough on their own when it comes to adding damage. But let's cycle back. Does that bash solve any of that? Well, no, not really. It tried to solve a problem that never really existed in the first place. And as it stands right now, the bash serves no purpose at all, actually. Well, you can try and hit somebody out of hype armor, but that's really it. And I think many might agree here that she doesn't really need a bash to begin with. Tinkering with the heavies should solve the issue of external pressure. She doesn't need a bash for that, especially not one with these properties. Personally, I hope they scratch the idea and don't put a lot of time and effort into creating a new animation. Let's talk about another misconception. PK having bad hitboxes. Her heavies just got better ones, but I think her lights have insane hitboxes. Always had, actually. And don't get me wrong, having somewhat decent hitboxes on attacks that have the corresponding animations for it, well, that's totally okay. In PK's case, this means that her dodge attack will always be worse than the counterpart of many other characters, especially teamfight characters. PK's main problem might actually be an identity one. Neither the devs nor the community don't really know what they want her to be. She's good in ones, she's alright in ganks, but that's still not enough since she lacks in the teamfighting department and other characters with similar skills bring way more to the table. And neither that bash nor the hitbox improvements currently fix that. Now, the other 3 changes she got are very much welcome though. I don't particularly care about the triple stab after a guard break. I think every player should be able to get used to the old timing within a day or so, but accessibility isn't a bad thing by any means. Then, stamina cost reduction on zone attack. You guys know me, I'm not a huge fan of the stamina mechanics, so having that move cost less now is a step forward. But also remember that it is full cost plus feint cost. You feint the second attack of the zone attack, not after the first. And then we have the input for the deflect moving to the light button again. I've made an entire video explaining why deflect and dodge attack buttons need to be separate and what further changes are needed to make deflects an intentional thing rather than an accident. So I guess I'll just leave you here. You go watch that deflect video now. So I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody.